I just first off want to say thank you everyone for being here in your busy schedules to learn more about the Hybrid JD program. We're really excited to have you here. I know I've spoken with some of you have applications in, some of you have been accepted. It goes through the whole entire chain. But I hope we have time to answer a lot of your questions. We will have a question section at the end. So if you can, write in the chat anything that pops up during, but we'll be able to address everything at the end. Um, I do briefly want to mention we do have Shannon Stark. She's the enrollment manager here with the Colleges of Law. She wants to speak briefly about the on-site program, and then we can go ahead and kick off the hybrid information session. So, Shannon.
Thank you, Brianna. Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Stark. I'm the Senior Enrollment Manager. I've been with the Colleges of Law about almost 9 years, almost as old as the hybrid program. Or actually, I've been here longer than the hybrid program because I was the one making the calls when we were the very first Cal Bar school to launch an accredited online JD program, which is why you are all here today. And we have another special guest that's here who happened to be one of my applicants back in those days. And her name is Marissa Nilchevi. And she's going to be here as an alumni, successful graduate, and now academic advisor for the hybrid program or for the JD on-site. And so we're very happy to have her here because she's been there, done that. Also with us is the dean of the program who was part of developing this hybrid program. And so what I wanted to say is just a few words and just to let everyone know that we do have on-site programs. So I know you're all here to hear information about the hybrid, which you're going to hear everything you need to know. I encourage you all to stay on this call all the way through so that you know exactly what the hybrid, how it operates and what the expectations are. But just know that if you are in the Santa Barbara or in the Ventura area, even within a commutable distance of 30 minutes to an hour, just know that we do have an on-site evening program 3 nights a week, both at the Santa Barbara campus and at the Ventura campus. We do not offer a hybrid option at either of those 2 campuses, but we do have the on-site evening program from 6:30 to 9:30. So after you hear this presentation, just know you can always go to our events on the admissions page of our website, collegesoflaw.edu. You click on the admissions tab and there's a drop down of events. In March, we have a couple open house tour events at the Santa Barbara and Ventura campuses. So if you'd like to see those campuses in person and you're considering the on-site, know that March 11th and March 17th we'll be having an open house. So without further ado, I'm going to let the queen of the program, Dean Andrea Funk, take over and share all the wonderful information that we have for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shannon. And welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday evening. Probably many of you have had a long day with work or whatever is on your schedule. And so we appreciate you coming and hearing a little bit about the hybrid program. As Shannon mentioned, it launched, we're in our 8th year. It launched in 2018, and I had the distinct pleasure, it quite literally was just approved by the state bar in 2018 to build it from scratch. And you're entering at a great time because the first 4 years were really building the infrastructure and the program, and we've spent the last 3.5 years perfecting it with all the bells and whistles. And so now you're at a place where we have everything that we need. So with that, I'm going to launch into the program and share my screen. Make sure that all of you can. All right, can you all see that? Great. This, by the way, is a picture from graduation. We've had graduation for the last few years in Santa Barbara, and what an extraordinary backdrop for those lucky graduates. So something to look forward to at the end. Um, All right, about the colleges of law. So it was founded by attorneys, really the ground program in 1969. And so it's been around for a minute. Um, it has the two campuses, as Shannon mentioned, one in Santa Barbara and Ventura. And then now we have, oh, and I need to change this because now we actually are in Pasadena. All of our hybrid residencies are in the Pasadena campus. We spent the first 91 residencies in Ventura. Um, we have thousands of alumni, including judges and commissioners and elected officials and practicing attorneys, and it is really it's a very special place, and I hope you'll see that as I go through. So, the first and really one of the most important things that one should know about a law school is what its accreditation status is. And we are accredited by the State Bar of California. So, what that means is upon graduation, you are eligible to take the State Bar in California. What that also means is that because we're accredited by the State Bar, you are geographically limited to your eligibility of sitting for the California bar because the ABA would allow you to go to any state to take it. Here, you're eligible to take it in California. The reason that's important is because if you are thinking, gosh, I might move in 3 years and 5 years at some point to another state, you want to look into the jurisdiction there and find out what the eligibility requirements. Usually, other states will allow you to perhaps take an attorney's exam, or if you've practiced so long here, you can take the exam there and become a lawyer. But that is a question we get a lot. There is no first year law school exam. We're fully accredited. And so you come to law school you know, and you take the bar here. California is one. I'll talk about the bar in a little bit. It is one of the more challenging bars to pass in the nation, but we fully prepare you for it. We're also accredited by WASC, which is the Commission of Higher Learning for the West Coast. And together, both of them review our programs and make sure that every I is dotted and T is crossed in the accrediting world. And we have gotten reports flying with flying colors from both of them in the past. In fact, right now we're going through a site visit with the Cal Bar, and so and they are, they look deeply and usually say very kind and generous things about our program. All right, so the hybrid program, this was actually the original class graduate, just a portion of them from 2018. But the reason for that, the launch of it in 2018, was to do law school better. And for those of you who may know a little bit about law school, a traditional model throughout the country is like when I went to law school and where many people are going to law school across the country, is to go to class. Hear lectures, hear people talk throughout the semester, and then take a final exam at the end. And that's not really the best and the most effective way to do law school. And so the thought was, how could we do it better? There has been this critique of legal education for a long time, and how could we do it better? And the beauty of being able to build it from scratch was to say, here are things that would help students to learn. Here are things that would help students become competent, skilled, ethical attorneys. All right. And that way we can make the educational experience more efficient, effective, accessible, and affordable for you. So our requirements, and these are the same really as the ground program, but we have such a different delivery. So 84 required units. We have 69 core curriculum units, 5 lawyering skills. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. A pro bono internship unit, which is the same for the ground as well, and 9 elective units. So, what are those lawyering skills tracks? Well, one of the critiques of legal education is that students don't leave law school with enough understanding about the practice of law. And so to that end, we have created 5 weekend courses that you would take over the course of your program that are practical skills, litigation, transactional, and professional development and leadership. And I have to tell you, these are often students' favorite weekends because it's a time to come and learn things about the practice of law. For example, this weekend we're having a lawyering skills weekend. One of the classes is focused on the use of canines as evidence in the criminal justice system. So bringing canines in and finding out how canines can present evidence in a trial. And students are coming and they are going to learn over the course of 12 hours, Saturday and Sunday, how this is done. So really interesting things. In June, we have medical negligence. We have all kinds of courses on access to justice, we have mediation, negotiation, and they're offered 3 times a year. And there's usually 4 offerings each time, and they are fantastic. What also sets the hybrid program apart is that we have a writing portfolio. And this is so that you can write throughout your program. So I've been in a law school environment since the late 90s. And usually what people have is typically their first year writing course. And they'll get a writing sample from that. Maybe they'll take something else in their program, but we have writing in not just that first year, but throughout, we have a formal portfolio project that is actually launching this upcoming year, where you will go through a process and create a number of documents so that at the end, you will have a portfolio. So, a letter to a client, maybe a pleading, a memo, an advice letter, a transactional document. So, you will have a series of documents that can be in this portfolio that can serve as writing samples. And we have just appointed a director of this program. And so that's how it's being formalized. We've been doing this for the last 7.5 years, but now we're going to have someone running it. And it's really it's quite a difference. So that is part of your program. We also have the capstone course, and I teach that. And I have actually, over the last few years, reinvented it from what it originally was to what I saw that students needed. And so, this is a way to showcase what you've learned throughout the program, as well as to demonstrate the knowledge, skills, and values of a new attorney. So, I teach the course, and I have developed a whole string of assignments, assessments, an ability to show that you are ready to be out there in the world as a practicing attorney. And it's a great way to end your program because you feel like you are prepared to transition to practice. Now, you heard of course, we have the on-site program that has been around for about 55 years and is very, you know, traditional, and it has been well received throughout the community. But again, you have to be able to drive there and to attend 3 nights a week. And so this mode of delivery is very different. This mode of delivery is 70% online and 30% on site. So what that means is that each we have 3 semesters a year. Each semester has 4 residencies, so 12 residencies throughout the year. Plus, you would start with an orientation residency in August. So everyone would take the first 2 semesters this fall and spring. You will have the foundational semester with fundamentals, research, and writing. And what you should know is that Marissa Nilchavi is not just a distinguished graduate and a successful person out there in the world doing extraordinary things. But she is also a professor in the program. And so she teaches legal fundamentals and she teaches a Spring Start course that we have, as well as being your academic advisor. So she is very locked in with the student experience, and we couldn't be any more lucky than to have her with us. Now, again, what is a little different from our traditional program to the hybrid is typically in the fall semester when you start law school, you launch right into doctrinal courses. Let's talk about contracts. Let's talk about crim law. But we do it differently because for many of you, and honestly, for every person out there doing law school, you show up and you have these courses and you're reading cases and you have no idea what you're doing or why. So that foundational semester really sets you up for the spring. That is a notable difference. You learn how to, in fundamentals with Professor Nelchavi, you learn how to read cases. You learn how to put cases together for your doctrinal courses. You learn how to get all the basics so that everyone starts on the same footing in the spring. That is a big difference. Um, then in the spring, you start your doctrinal courses. And after these first two semesters, you transition to primarily two courses a semester for the rest of the program. A few of them you will have three, depending on when you are doing your electives. And the program overall is 40 months. So it'll be 10 semesters or 40 months starting this fall. Now, you are not a spring start, but I just want to alert you that right now, this is something that happens before the program. So when you arrive at the orientation in August, there are a handful of students who are right now just taking one elective course. Just taking one elective course in the fall of the spring and one in the summer. And so they will arrive having those two elective courses under the belt. But that way you can know who they are. You're like, what? Why? How do these people know each other? Why is there, because they have had this elective unit. And usually they make up about a third of the class, maybe a little bit less. All right, so each semester is the same. It's about 14 weeks. Sometimes it's 15 if we run into a holiday issue like we will this year with Thanksgiving. We don't want to have your final exams on Thanksgiving weekend, so we'll push them back a week. Each semester is just adjusted a little bit, and we have the academic calendar every year by December. So I'm sure Brianna has that already, and all of you will know for next year what are all the weekends that I need to mark off. So I get asked a lot, well, what does it look like? What do you do in this asynchronous world for 3 or 4 weeks before you go to a residency? And every weekend, excuse me, every week looks essentially the same. You get a new learning module that begins on Monday and it typically ends on Sunday. So in that module, you will have an introductory video from your professor, some 15, 20 minutes, sometimes 30, sometimes more, but usually in that range, going over the basics for the week, what it is you're focusing on, what you should be thinking about, what you should be looking for, explaining things to you. And then you go in and you read the materials, whether they're the cases or whatever materials you've been assigned for that week. And then you do whatever's asked of you. There are assignments, discussions, quizzes, or some type of activity. Now, why that's important is because when you do that work, and it's typically due on Saturday or Sunday night of that week, that work is your attendance and that is your engagement. So your professors will get that work. And what is again notable about this program is that your professors will provide you weekly feedback. That is not something that you will see in other programs, even other programs that are online or asynchronous. This is not something that happens, and we have built it intentionally because what we don't want to have happen is you head into finals and realize, man, you didn't know what you didn't know. You had nothing was ever, you never tested yourself. You never had to sit. So here, right, you can sit in class all semester and nod your head and be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense until you have to use it. And then you're like, man, I guess I don't get it. So this way, you can do work during the semester. You're not being punished for not getting it right. Instead, it's a learning tool. You do the work, the professor's like, okay, yeah, you got it. Or, still missing this, or here in is assessing where it is you are so that then you can go back in and learn it. And that is probably one of the single most outstanding portions of this program for learning. So, in each course, I've had each professor build the course with the same three objectives. One, you have to cover what is traditional law school material. You have to read cases. You're going to spend, after the first semester, the majority of the rest of your classes reading cases and reading doctrine and reading theory, just like you would do at any other law school around the country. You're going to do that. But we are also infusing information about the California bar exam. So we incorporate Barbary, which is a tool to help you to study for the bar, into every doctrinal course. We give you lots of opportunities from the first year to learn about taking the bar. And then you learn practical skills by using the law that you're studying. So you're not just studying the cases, but, well, under this case, what would you do in this situation? And using the law in order to analyze. So again, very, very different. Now, when I got into this, online education, hybrid education is very new in the last decade to legal education. As Shannon said, we were the first accredited hybrid program in the state of California, approved by the state bar. And so I had a lot to learn about what it is and what it is not. And what it is, I can tell you, is a very rigorous learning experience. You have to be self-motivated and engaged and disciplined. Um, and yes, it's very independent because you're deciding during the week when to focus on, your studies, what works with your schedule. Are you a morning person, a night person, studying at lunch at work, after school when your kids are doing, wherever it is. Um, but just because you are online, it doesn't mean you're on your own. You have full access to professors throughout the week. And I can tell you that I worked at an ABA accredited law school for 21 years before coming here. And the amount of access to support and your professors here is 100 times greater than in the brick and mortar school. It's really incredible. There's also a sense of community that I'll talk about in a little bit too. But I thought, well, these people are going to just all be on their own. How we? I know my students. I know the people in this program better than I knew the students who attended my class live because there's no hiding in the back of the classroom. We know, we see, we interact, we are engaged with you. And so we really get to know you, and it's quite a community as a result of that. It's very flexible during the week for when you want to get your work done, but you have to have good time management skills because there are deadlines. This isn't a self-paced program where you're like, oh, I think I'll do that work this week. It's like, no, this is a very strict, regimented program. You can't just sit back and watch some videos and call it a day. So, for those of you who are new to the online learning platform, and by now most people, this is not Zoom education. We existed a few years, we were created a few years before the pandemic. And what a lot of people do, or a lot of law schools do, is if they have an online program, they just slap whatever they did on the ground on Zoom. And they just talk on Zoom and lecture on Zoom, and that's it. That is not this. So the difference between an asynchronous and a synchronous program is synchronous is what we're doing right now. Brianna told us, oh, hey, let's all get together at 6. We all came, and now we are interacting synchronously. Asynchronous is we have a learning management system, Canvas. We go into our course in Canvas on our own. Let's say you start on Monday and your nights for studying are, 7 to 11 every night or 8 to 12 or whatever it is you're going to do. And you go on, there's not a pre-scheduled time to meet. The only pre-scheduled time are those residencies. Now, that's us. That's the HJD program. It is not the, okay, every Tuesday night we're going to meet at 6 and have your class. Now, having said that, I will tell you, professors have a boatload of Zoom office hours or review sessions. In fact, after this meeting, I'm going to one tonight that the mentors are having with our first years to just pop in and say hello. Professor Neil Chavi offers a number of workshops that are synchronous, but that's not the program itself. That is in addition to support the program. Our monthly residencies are mandatory. There aren't any makeup, so we tell people, make sure you put them on your calendar. They are an integral part of the learning experience and the 30% of the on site that we have for the program. And they're the same time every month, Saturdays from 9 to 5, Sundays from 9 to 1. This goes to what I was mentioning earlier about attendance and student engagement. The only way we know you're out there doing what you need to be doing is by turning in your work. So if you don't turn in your work, you're not present in class. So you could be studying all the time, but I don't know that, right? Your professor doesn't know that. You could be doing a lot, but it is your work that is your showing up, right? Your 3 hours of being in class is replaced by doing this work. And it's better for you anyway, because that way, you can use the material from the week. Now, the time commitment is really important, and it is something I stress when we interview people. That one of the first questions I ask every single person is, do you have the space and time for this in your life? Because that's a consideration. This is not a 10-hour-a-week program. It's not a weekend program where you can just say, oh, I'll wait till Saturday morning and see what's happening in my courses, right? So in every law school around the country, um, typically for a 3-unit course, you think about 3 units of outside study for the 1 unit inside the class. So that would be 9 hours of outside study plus the 3 hours of class, hence about 12 hours per class a week. If you have 3 classes, that adds up to about 36 hours a week. We ask students, they say typically there's probably about a 30-hour average. Some weeks it might be a little lower, some a little higher, but 30 seems to be a sweet spot that most students will end up saying. Now, that is completely doable. Even if you are a full-time, you're employed full-time, you have a family. We have had people, mothers with 3 children and a full-time job, graduate at the top of their class, pass the bar the first time, because it's all about time management. So if you say, okay, I'm going to live my life, but every night, instead of watching, you know, Netflix for 4 hours, I'm going to do this, and that's going to be my time. And then I'm going to block off some time to relax with my family. But then I know that Saturdays and Sundays, for the most part, I have things to do. So it won't be the case that you'll be able to go to maybe every soccer game or every, matinee that, if people even go to matinees anyway. Um, but any activities, you'll have to alert and prepare your family. And we talk about this at orientation that for 40 months, which will go by like that, for 40 months, your schedule is going to be a little bit limited during the semester. But the really extraordinary thing is that, okay, for this period of time, I'm going to be really busy, but then I'm going to have about 3.5 weeks off. And I can do whatever I want there. Then I'm going to be really busy throughout this period of time, but then I'm going to have about 3.5 weeks off. And then the same in the summer. So at the end of the day, you're getting a long break in between each semester. And that's when you can plan things, right? Okay, I can't go away for that weekend in the middle of October, but if you could wait until after the finals in December, I don't have to go back for 4 weeks, right? It's just about planning. So, um, and the other thing, too, I want to share with you is that we have these amazing educational opportunities. Not just we have electives this week or this summer. We are planning an elective AI and the law. This semester, we have an amazing civil rights seminar going on with the dean of the school and a trial advocacy with a very seasoned district attorney. So we have amazing electives that are offered. We have directed studies, which is if you want to work on a project on your own with a professor or a dean, and then study abroad. So this is a picture that I took a handful of years ago at a summer trip in Cuba. We were studying environmental sustainability. Who would ever think I would go to Cuba? It was crazy, and it was so informative and so compelling. And it was a week. A year ago, summer, I did a trip in Sweden where we studied disability and health law in Sweden because it has an exceptional program. And then in April, next 2 months, we are doing to commemorate America's 250th birthday or anniversary. We're going on a civil rights trail trip for a week, going to Memphis and Montgomery, Birmingham, Selma, and Atlanta. And so just for a week, but these are extraordinary opportunities to supplement, to study the law in a different, in a real way. And every year we try to have something. So you come to law school and you're like, I just don't know what I'm doing. I need help. I need support. And I can tell you, we offer a lot of it. We offer a great deal of it. We have a dean who is focused on student success and bar preparation. I've worked with her for decades and she really knows what she's doing. We have academic advisors. Professor Neil Chavi will be yours. We have student mentors. Our student mentors are so dedicated to what they do. As I said, I'm going to a program tonight from 8 to 9:30 because that's when her students were able to attend. And that's the level of dedication that everyone really in the program has to the student body. Um, Dean Vincent prepares you for the bar. We have an in-house program and we work closely with Barbary, and you have just literally the gold standard in what you need to pass the bar. It's all included in your tuition. I mean, I tell my colleagues around the country what our school offers for the price point, for the value. They truly can't believe it. It, it is extraordinary. The bar exam, in fact, interestingly, the bar exam is in 2 weeks, not next week, but the following week. Um, the other night we had a session with our bar takers just to say, hey, do you feel, ready? What are your last minute questions? Let's kind of encourage you to, get through these last 2 weeks. What's the plan? So we are with you every single step of the way. And people ask me often about the faculty, and I have to tell you that over the course of the years, this is just like I think the hybrid program is not for every student. Sometimes learning in with having people, a professor right in front of you is a better learning method for you. Um, I don't think that teaching in the hybrid program is for every faculty member. And so I think I have hand selected each of them and worked with them to perfect their own craft because this is hard work. It's a lot simpler to just go to a class and kind of lecture and talk for 3 hours and go away, right? And then next week, do the same thing. If you've been doing it for 20 years, it becomes kind of this is every week you are engaged and I redo my videos every week to respond to the particular needs of my class. I respond to their feedback and watch them grow over the course of the semester. So you can be assured that these professors they're knowledgeable, they're committed, they're responsive, and we have an exceptional group. And then finally, I like to share this picture. It's from our first cohort. And I share this in every session I do because the community truly is unlike any other. This was a portion of maybe about half of our original cohort. And we were having an anniversary for the on-site program. It was their 50th, so this was about 6 years ago. And it was after the Saturday residency. They'd been in class all day. I had to go to it, and one of our staff members, our program manager, Rosalie, went to it. And all of a sudden, the students started showing up and all like adorned, you can see, dressed up beautifully. And I'm like, what are you guys doing here? I mean, they were not required to do this. They had been in class all day, they had traveled from all over. And they're like, we don't get to see each other too much outside of our cohort, like in person. They talked a lot online, but we wanted to be together and we wanted to be a part of. And I was just wowed. And every time I see this picture, I feel like this represents what people feel. They find their, friends, they know each other for life, they are in each other's weddings. It is amazing the community that is built here. I also want to share with you something. The State Bar of California every year they started it maybe about 4 years ago, a leadership program for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And our school has been the only law school in the state of California that has been recognized as a leader. We are a Gold Seal recipient. I just checked the latest for 2025, and there are two other schools. One school has committed to doing the work, which means there are 10 action items you have to do. And committing means you're committing to do five of them. And then another school that has gotten the bronze, meaning that it does just a little bit more than that. We're the only school that has the gold, and I'm very, very proud of that. All right, now Shannon mentioned this earlier, the difference between the hybrid and the on-site program. And so these are the differences, both 84 units. The hybrid program, the 40 months, is 3 1/3 year. The way it's structured in the ground is 3 1/2, so just roughly the same. We're asynchronous, 1 weekend a month. They're 3 nights a week, 6:30 to 9:30. You can see the price differential is a little bit different because we've built in a little bit of money for per unit for the residency weekends. We provide you all of your food, breakfast, lunch, snacks. We have all kinds of other activities and things that we provide. So we have a little bit of a per unit price increase. We're 70% online, 30% live. Um, but the difference is that, that feedback and that active engagement, whereas the other is live, but it is a different forum. And this is where I'll point out to you, what will make a difference to you is how you learn. Again, like I said, it's sometimes it's not for everyone. If you are uncomfortable in a form where, or you're a procrastinator and you don't have good time management skills, this might not be an effective program for you. So you have to kind of figure out what that fit is. They're both accredited by the state bar, so there's no issues there. You're going to get the same support on the for the bar exam, but there are those differences in that presentation. And I'm going to turn it over now to Brianna to talk to you about the details. And then I want to ask Professor Neil Chavi to have some time to speak to that which I've said and offer her view on the experience. So, first, Brianna.
Yeah, thank you. I will be really quick. As you see, some important dates to mention. We are enrolling right now for the fall 2026 program. Applications are open all the way up until July 20th, and the classes begin in August. So as you are applying, you want to make sure that you're prepared to get the documents in a timely manner. Those required are an application. When you go onto our college website, you'll see up in the right-hand corner, it says apply now. You'll go through the process, 10 to 15 minutes to fill that and complete it out. And then there's a $50 application fee. That opens up your file to attach all the documents to. The documents we need is a resume with your up to 10 years of work experience, a personal statement. It's 750 to 1,000 words. You want to talk about your interest in law, maybe some challenges that you've overcome, why you're qualified, why the hybrid program is a good fit for you. Kind of go through all of those things in your personal statement. I also like to mention that we don't take the LSAT into consideration for your application here at the Colleges of Law. So the personal statement is the writing sample that the committee reviews. So you want to make sure that you're writing it in a manner of this is why I'm qualified to attend law school. We ask for 2 letters of recommendation. They do have to be sent directly from the writer to the school. They have to be either professional or educational recommendations. The last item is official transcripts. They have to be from everywhere that you've attended college. So if you went to community college before you get your undergraduate, you need to make sure that you send all of those college transcripts over to us. They usually can be ordered electronically to the counselor's email address, and we get them pretty quick.
Great. Thank you so much, Brianna, for that. And before I go to any questions, I'm just going to stop sharing. I would like to invite Professor Neil Chavi, thank you so much for being here and for sitting through the last half an hour of the program, which you know intimately well.
Yeah.
And maybe you could offer your perspective or thoughts on the hybrid experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, welcome everybody. This is your first step to law school, and congratulations to just being here. So that's wonderful. I'll have to say the wonderful part about HJD is, you know, I came in later in life wanting to go to law school, right? And I had a career already and so forth. But it was a dream of mine that I still wanted to do, be active in that capacity. And this program really allowed me to do that. Having said that, it is not an easy program to do either, right? Because you have work, family, and other life responsibilities. And you're going to go to law school at the same time. That is a lot, right? And I think to Dean Funk's point here is it's not a weekend program. It's not a when I decide I'm going to watch a video or do reading because it's not in person every day. It's actually more for somebody who is self-motivated, somebody who can organize time, right? And so that is not for the faint of heart. I'll tell you that. You really have to organize your time and get it to, put it all together and really go through this. But I'll tell you at the end of it, you come out such an amazing, strong, critical thinking type of person. I went to law school, many, many moons after graduating college. And so learning to be an adult learner was the difficult part, right? Because you can't do law school in, study the night before and then tomorrow pop in and take your exam. That's not how it happens, right? You really have to do certain steps. And that's what I think the program is really great, with the support of Dean Funk, Rosalie, Jessica, all your professors, myself, and then the student mentors. There's a lot of support that goes along with it. What I would say to everybody is you can be successful here if you really want this. If you make the time, you make the effort, and this, your why is strong. you know, I think often about myself. What was my why? Why did I succeed in law schools? Because I really believe in making a difference. I really truly do. And it was for myself. It's something I wanted to do. So I would say when you come to law school, as you apply, think about your why and root yourself in that. But I have to say it's an extremely wonderful program. There's so much support. Looking at that photo of the first class I graduated, I know some of those people, and so I talk to them still today, and it's so wonderful to get together with them. And so I think, when thinking about law school, when you're thinking about the hybrid program, just remember that you are the difference in this, right? You're the one who's going to get through law school. And what I would say, as a person who's gone through the program, who's a academic advisor and as a professor, I also want you to consider your life, right? And having conversations with your family. Law school takes time, right? So have that conversation with your family. Like, I'm doing something pretty big, pretty phenomenal at this point in my life, and I need your support, because that family support, friend support, it's also needed. But I think the program is so unique and so wonderful, and you can achieve your dream. And I have to say, at whatever how old I am, um, I have achieved a dream that I've always wanted, and it took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of support. It was a lot of perhaps a couple of tears here and there, Dean Funk, but we get through it. We get through just a couple of tears here and there, but you get through it, and it builds so much great character. And out of it, you become this great critical thinking person. You really are able to see things in a completely, utterly different way. And I can't tell you, I have conversations with friends now, and they're like, you speak differently and you have opinions that are different now. And I'm like, yeah, it was law school. It makes a massive difference. So as you continue on this journey, and when you apply, I just encourage you to really say to yourself, this is what I want. I'm going to get through this. This is something you have to think about very seriously. But I think the experience is absolutely amazing. So I encourage all of you, if this is your dream, this is what you want to do, this is a great program.
Thank you, Professor Nilchavi. And I have to tell you, I remember interviewing her for the program before, right? The year before she starts, then she goes through the whole program. And now she's been out a number of years and it has been teaching and giving back. And I mean, the 40 months, the 40 months are going to go by anyway, and it's your choice of how you want to spend them. So time is going to go by. You could, it's just how do you want to spin them? And as she said, I do think you have, and we talk about this at the residency for the orientation, you have to have a good why. Like, I'm doing this because there are going to be times that the excitement's going to fade and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, what the heck did I get myself into? And I still have 38 months to go. So that's going to happen, and that's okay, and that's normal, but you have to have that why to get you through. And again, before you know it, you're going to be on the other side.
I
And
think Dean Funk
so,
gets
yeah.
4 Thanksgivings.
There you go. There you go. 4 Thanksgivings and you're graduating. That's right. Your fourth Christmas, you're celebrating. Although you might be getting ready for the bar too, so maybe that's a little bit of a sticky point. But that's such a great way to think of it. Thank you. No, I have to tell you, I'm so proud of this program. It is amazing. I share this with everyone. I think that, um, the value, like you could pay at another law school for the first year what our JD is and get half of what you're getting at this program. And I say that because I know it. I went to UCLA for law school. I worked at an ABA school for 21 years. I know it. I've lived it. I've been it. I built this differently for a reason. So treating the turkey as a hostile witness. Oh, maybe we'll just pardon the turkey and then, Um, but anyway, I could go on and on and on about it, but I will stop and I will open the floor up to any questions you have about the process for Brianna or anything for Professor Nilchavi or me that you would like to know.